Hello guys, this is UniversalGiant, and welcome back for more of Let's Play Pokémon SoulSilver. Last time we made our way all the way back to this tree after going through the national park, and today we're going to see what we can do about it. The odd tree doesn't like the squirt bottle, and it attacks! What is this, some other game? This is the one and only place where you can find Sudowoodo! Pure rock type. Very rare, I can't think of too many pure rock types. What I want to do with this thing is catch it. Although I don't intend to use it on my team, I would like to catch as many of the one-time finds in the game that we can. Low kick, fighting type move that does a different amount of damage depending on how heavy the opposing Pokemon is. The heavier it is, the more damage it does. Now, I'm pretty sure this thing has a fairly low catch rate, so I have to knock it down to a considerably low amount of HP to stand a chance at catching this thing. And... Sleepy... I guess I'll send in Crunch. I'd like for these guys not to get knocked out, just for the sake of not knocking them out. I mean, it's not like I'm doing a Nuzlocke run or something where you can't have any of your Pokemon faint. But the one thing that's going to make it really difficult to catch this thing is that it knows Flail. And Flail is one of those moves that does more damage depending on what your HP level is. The less HP you have, the more damage Flail does. Now that his HP is fairly low, I think I shouldn't have much of a problem catching this guy. But like I said, I don't intend to use him. I just want to catch him for the sake of catching him. So I suppose I'll cut to when I do catch it. That only took about 5 more balls. Not too bad. He just hit my other guys for a lot more damage because low kick is super effective on a few of them. Sudowoodo disguised itself as a tree to avoid attack, and it hates water. And now that this thing is out of the way, we'll be able to progress northward to Ecruteak City. But before we do that, this little lady here from the flower shop will give us the berry pots. Now what the berry pots can do, they serve as mobile spots of dirt. If you played the 3rd generation, you'll know about growing berries and stuff. So she'll give us a couple of orange berries for us to use in the berry pots, along with the pecha berries. And this is probably the best place for you to grind for status ailment healing items, which is what I'm going to be doing. But what the berry pots do, you can find them in the key items slot. And I suppose I'll register them to the 2nd slot because I don't have anything else to use the 2nd slot for. But here you can access them. You see 4 of them here. You can either fertilize them to grow plants faster, or you can just simply plant the berries. Now what I'm going to be doing for the most part is planting 2 pecha berries and 2 orange berries. Pecha berries heal poison, serve as antidotes. Orange berries heal 10 HP. And the thing about berries is that Pokemon will use them on their own if they're holding berries during battle. So if Pokemon gets poisoned and it's holding a pecha berry, it'll just consume the pecha berry and heal its poison right on the spot. But before we head northward, I'm going to head back to the east over here to Violet City. This is Route 36 again. So I'll go heal these guys up real quick and meet you back here. But before we do that, do you remember the Spearow that we've been holding the whole time? The one we got from the dude that was in this station just north of Goldenrod City who said we have to deliver mail to another guy over here? That's this fella. And if we give him the letter, who's on Kenya here, as a thank you, he'll give us TM44. Rest! Now, Rest is a very interesting move to learn, in that will fully restore your Pokemon's HP. But as a consequence, you'll fall asleep for, I believe it's a set 2 turns of sleep. I could be mistaken. So it's a really good move to heal up if you can afford to be put to sleep for that long. And are there any other things we can do here now that we have Cut? Remember the small trees that were in our way that made it take a really long time to get through this route? We can just cut them down now. So if we wanted to go see Mr. Pokemon, we could just go there right now without having to do any of the tree reset itself when I took one step down to Route 30, really? Oh well. We can go through all these areas without having to worry about wild encounters, so that's pretty nice. And there's also, now that I think about it, there's one more TM we can pick up south of Violet City, so I suppose I'll meet you down there. If you guys remember down here on Route 32, there was one section over there to the left that was blocked off by a small tree that we couldn't knock down. Well, now that we have Furret with Cut, we can cut that tree right out of the way and talk to the dude that's just standing here looking pretty. I wonder what TM5 is. You're just screaming and yelling as if to roar people away. Yup, it's Roar, just like Lupus was prompted to learn earlier. And is there a hidden item here? Could you be any more obvious, game? Now, occasionally, since we have the fashion case, our Pokemon may eventually start holding stuff. Now, depending on what their happiness level is, you may or may not be able to take it from them. And if they're happy enough, they'll happily hand it over to us, and we got a white flower for the fashion case. How lovely. If your Pokemon isn't happy enough, or I think there are some other random numbers involved with it, it may not hand it over, and for the rest of the route, it'll just be making angry faces at you and roaring at you and all that fun stuff. I think I might also do a little bit of shopping, so I'll meet you out here. I also took the liberty of filling up the only remaining spot on our roster just in case we need somebody to tank a few hits. You never know. But now that the Sudowoodo is out of the way and in our roster, we can head up north here. And continue along. Is there an item back here? Yes, there is. A Hyper Potion. Heals 200 HP. Very nice as a pickup without having to spend any money on it. More trainer tips. Yep, Dig just serves as another means of using a escape rope. Who do I have next to you, HC? Lupus and HC make a good team. Let's have them do a double battle together. Haven't had many of these so far, but I can already see 2 of them immediately coming up. Marilyn Mareep, interesting team. Do I want to take the risk and have Lupus out here to take a water hit from Maril? At least we get to see Dig in action, though. I'll use that on Mareep. Do I want to risk using... You know what, it makes more sense to bring in Sleepy, because no matter what, if Mareep goes for an electric-type attack, be able to take it. Now, Dig is one of those turns that takes... one of those moves that takes 2 turns. So HC is going to be underground for a little while. Meaning that he's not going to be able to be hit by Mareep's attack. So let's use Thunder Shock on Maril, and on the second turn, Heracross uses Dig on Mareep, and Mareep goes down. So adorable, though. These two have such adorable Pokemon. I just don't want to knock them out, but don't really have a choice in this matter, do we? Don't want to forfeit half of our money to these losers, do we? I know I don't. And there's another power of 2, 512. But up here, this double battle's gonna be a little bit more difficult. Shades of the Whitney fight. Because these 2 beauties have Clefable and Wigglytuff, all female. And in addition to that, guess what ability these things have? I'm sure I'll get to show it off. if this thing isn't one-shot by Brick Break. Which it is. Oh well. I think they have the ability Cute Charm, which has the chance of inflicting your Pokemon with infatuation if they're of the opposite gender. I don't know if that also applies if they use a special attack. I think it's only if they use a physical attack. And Cassandra's got a Clefable as well. I suppose I'll use Dark Pulse on you, since I know it does about half anyway. And I'll just use Brick Break on the fresh Clefable. That should take them both out. Clefable and Wigglytuff are the evolved forms of Clefairy and Jigglypuff, both of which evolved using the Moonstone. But they're just general, normal types, not too much to write home about. You know, now that I get a better look at your sprite and how adorable it is, that first generation Cry sounds a little too... I want to say masculine. It doesn't sound that masculine. I can't think of the right word. It just doesn't sound fitting. Oh well. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's a nice amount of money. Up here we can run into a couple of interesting Pokemon as well, none of which we did because I made it all the way through the grass. North to Ecruteak City. See if I can run into it real quick. Now here's one SoulSilver exclusive, Vulpix. If you're playing Heart Gold, you'll be finding Growlithe, both of which evolved by the Firestone. See if we can find the other one. Here it is, Stantler! Fairly powerful normal type. It's one I'd actually recommend. There aren't too many of those. And the really cool thing about Stantler is that it can learn a lot of different attacks, more than you'd think. So it's fairly versatile. But its defenses aren't too great. Now, there's really only one reason I wanted to get to Ecruteak City real quick, and we won't be exploring much of it yet. We will in the next video. Who in the world are you? You look familiar for some reason. Ah, Bill! I know who you are. You're the guy who developed the system for transferring Pokemon on the PC, right? What, you also learned from Lynette from Hoenn? Yeah, she really did make the PC a lot easier to use with the Move Pokemon function and all that. But now that he's going to be heading home to Goldenrod, we can follow him back! But before we do that, I'm gonna take a little bit of a detour over to the west here. Not gonna explore the route over here yet. There's just one Pokemon I'm looking for over here, and no reason not to have him in my party as long as we have room for him. Hi, buddy. I didn't want to run into you, but if you're so anxious, I suppose we can fight. Didn't exactly want to meet eyes with anybody out here because their Pokemon are pretty strong for this point in the game. And there's another Wooper. Ground water type, only weak to grass. Don't have any grass moves on my team. But that's how powerful HCB is at this point. I should probably have somebody else out in front so I don't accidentally knock out the thing I'm looking for. And Mom went ahead and bought us something else. So I suppose we'll have Sleepy out in front so I can paralyze the thing, and I'll meet you guys when I find what I'm looking for. That didn't take very long, did it? Magnemite! Already explained all the cool things about this thing. But the one thing coolest about it is that I haven't actually used one of these before. And since it did get an additional evolution in the 4th generation, I'm really anxious to try it out. And Tackle does miss. Now, how much do I have to beat this thing up before I can catch it? I don't want to knock it out, but Headbutt and Thunder Shock aren't going to be doing too much to it, so this may take a while. Since it is a Steel type, 2 critical hits in a row. Do I want to risk another critical hit? Sonic Boom will always do 20 HP of damage. I think I'll risk another Headbutt. Yeah, there we go. That should be fine. Now his Thunder Shock is actually pretty powerful because he has a fairly high special attack as well. And since I did pick up a couple of more Pokeballs, I do have 2 Premier Balls to throw away, so let's see if I can catch it in one of these. Yeah, baby. We've got ourselves a Magnemite. Now, this nickname won't really make much sense, but if you think about it, he's a floating eyeball that attacks with electricity. So that's why I decided to name this little fella Kracko. And unfortunately, we don't have room for 2 electric types in our team. So, as much as I hate to say goodbye to somebody that we've had since the very beginning, it's about time that we retired Sleepy here. So, you served us really well, Sleepy. And before we put you on the PC, just to show you we care, I'll go heal you up real quick. I'm really gonna miss Sleepy. And as much as I do like Flaffy and Ampharos, his evolved form, I did already use one in Heart Gold, and something I want to avoid in this LP more than anything else is reusing Pokemon. Which is why I decided to switch from Sleepy to Kracko. So let's just pick up Magnemite, swap him out for Sleepy, and before we end things off, I'm gonna head back to Goldenrod City, so I'll meet you guys there. I don't know why I said that, because there is something I want to show off down here on Route 37 that is easiest to get to just by jumping down the ledge here. You got access to 3 different Apricorn trees, red, blue, and black. One of the few areas where you can find 3 of these things at once. I can only think of one other area in the game where you find 3 of these, and it isn't too far off from here, but these things do come back every day, so if you really want to have as many Apricorns as you can, this is one of the best places to get them. And there's a trainer we can fight down here, too. I also equipped Magnemite with the Quick Claw we had on Sleepy before. He's got himself a Drowsy. Now, as much as I'd like to show off what Kracko can do here, he will resist Psychic-type moves, but Lupus will flat out absorb them. So all the more reason to have him out. Unfortunately, it knows Hypnosis, which will put us to sleep, so what are you gonna do? I think the most Drowsy can do to us is Pound. What Disable will do, if you used an attack on the previous turn, it will disable that move for at least a few more turns, so you can't use the same move until Disable lifts. I forget if that's 2 to 4 turns or 3 to 5 turns or something like that, but Lupus gained another level. Good for Lupus. He's the highest level member of our team right now, isn't he? But now that there's nothing left for us to show off up here, I'll meet you guys back at Goldenrod. And here we are, back in Goldenrod City. Now, if you remember, Bill's house wasn't too far off, and since we already talked to him in Ecruteak, he'll be back here. And if we talk to him, he has a certain Pokemon that he'd like to give us, and if we have an empty slot in our party, he'll just hand it over to us for free. Eevee. Now, there are 7 different forms Eevee can evolve into, and based on my team, it should be pretty obvious which one I'm going to be using. But until he's evolved, there isn't really an appropriate nickname for him, so if you guys are familiar with the baseball term player to be named later, this will make more sense to you. PTBNL. I'll nickname this guy after I finally evolve him. Unfortunately, he's a male. I was hoping he'd be a female so I could give him the nickname I was anticipating, but oh well. So let's take a look at the two new team members we have here. Krako the Magnemite knows Thundershock, Tackle, Supersonic, and Sonic Boom, with the ability Sturdy, which will prevent it from being knocked out from full HP. Actually fairly nice. And down here we have Eevee! Tail Whip, Tackle, and Helping Hand. Not a very good moveset, especially considering it's not going to learn too many good moves until it evolves. It has the ability Adaptability, which powers up normal-type moves even more than Stab, which is going to change when it evolves, but it's cool to have now. Now, you can evolve Eevee using either a Firestone, a Waterstone, or a Thunderstone into Flareon, Vaporeon, and Jolteon. I'm not going to be doing that because I already have Water, Fire, and Electric types on my team. Now, introduced in the second generation were two forms that you could evolve it into by increasing its happiness and leveling it up, which is what I'm going to be using the Haircut Brothers for. Now, since it's Saturday, the older Haircut Brothers here, he does a better job, he generally makes the Pokemon more happy. So I'll have him groom Eevee, and hopefully Eevee's going to like it. Now, Eevee's not going to evolve until its happiness hits a very high number, which is much higher than it is now. And it's going to take quite a while. The problem with this is that the Pokemon I want him to evolve into doesn't learn a move of its own type until level 36-ish if I don't evolve it soon enough. So what I'm going to try to do over the next week or two when I'm not recording is I'm going to try to get his happiness up as much as possible without leveling him up. So that's going to mean a couple of vitamins if I can afford them. I don't think I can, so I'll mostly be using the Haircut Brothers in the Goldenrod Tunnel here, as well as riding around with the bicycle to increase his happiness. What I'm also going to be doing is giving him the Soothe Bell to hold, which is going to increase his happiness much more quickly as I'm walking around. So hopefully the next time I see you guys, Eevee will be a lot happier. Until then, this is UniversalGiant, and next time, we'll head back up north and explore Ecruteak City. So I'll meet you guys then. Have a good one.